This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Plus, you can catch me on Twitter at Stephen A. Smith, Facebook at Stephen A. Smith, Instagram at Stephen A. Smith. Lots to get into today. By the way, the Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Barbasol. I got a question, an issue and a question. So many people talking about the allure, the magnitude of LeBron James. Some people are trying to question as to whether or not he is the most influential athlete ever, or even if he has a chance to be. I would tell you no on both fronts. But we can talk about that, and that's no disrespect to LeBron. But we can definitely talk about that. This Urban Meyer story at Ohio State continues to develop as protesters showed up and showed out yesterday, absolutely embarrassing themselves. I'll talk about that. But the first order of business, of course, I'll get into a little baseball with both the Yankees and the Dodgers a little bit later. But the first order of business is Odell Beckham Jr.'s contract, Aaron Donald's contract. Let me be very, very clear. From New York to L.A., between the Giants and the Los Angeles Rams, get your head out of your you know what and pay these dudes the money. Pay them. Enough of this nonsense. Every time I hear this noise about these contracts, you know what comes to my mind? How the NFL Players Association ultimately got hosed, or the players themselves ultimately got hosed. That's what comes to my mind. Because I don't understand for the life of me, not for the life of me, how the NFL could get away with some of the things that they get away with. You got brothers locked in for 4 to 5 years. Then after that, you can franchise tag them for 2 to 3 years. We're talking about 7, 8 years of a commitment of an NFL career, when the average lifespan of an NFL player ain't even 4. If that ain't the epitome of ownership, I don't know what is. And we look at Odell Beckham Jr. Let me be very, very clear. Odell Beckham Jr. does not deserve to be the highest paid wide receiver in all of football. I've read the reports. I heard that his representatives left town without a deal. They aren't there yet, according to an NFL Network report. Prior to that, ESPN's very own Josina Anderson reported that per a Giants team source, the Giants and Odell Beckham Jr. agent Zeke Sandhu had worked diligently to complete a deal, but could not agree on Beckham's true market value. Apparently, according to the report, the Giants are valuing Odell Beckham Jr. below the Chiefs' Sammy Watkins on a per-year salary basis, which would mean less than $16 million per season and amount to a slap in Odell Beckham Jr.'s face. This is according to the report by ESPN, and I'm assuming it's Josina Anderson, since she reported on it. She reported it on my show First Take yesterday. Having said all of that, let me be very, very clear. Odell Beckham Jr. absolutely, positively does not deserve to be the highest paid receiver in football. He does not. I mean, no disrespect. To me, Odell Beckham Jr. should be the 3rd highest paid player in football. He's a superstar talent. He's box office, and he's in the media capital of the world. It's very, very simple to me. But don't tell me that Odell Beckham Jr., who played about 4 games last year, who's had 1 playoff appearance in his 4-year career, during that playoff performance, he was targeted 11 times, caught 4 passes for 28 yards, dropped a couple after chilling on a boat in South Beach the week of the game. Don't tell me that young brother deserves to get paid more than Antonio Brown. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. It ain't even about the money to me. I'm not telling you that Odell Beckham Jr. ain't worth $16 million. That would be sacrilegious. I'm not telling you he's not worth $18 million. I'm not questioning whether it's $50 to $55 million or more in guaranteed dollars. I'm not getting into any of that. All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, in terms of guaranteed dollars and per year salary, don't come to me telling me Odell Beckham Jr. is getting paid more than Antonio Brown or Julio Jones. That better not be the case. That is not what he deserves. And to be honest with you, I'm really getting sick and tired of the lack of appreciation that is being accorded to the great Antonio Brown. Let's be very, very clear about this. Antonio Brown ain't Big Ben Roethlisberger. He ain't been whining about how he thinks his days are numbered and he's inching towards retirement. Not to disrespect Big Ben, because he's a future Hall of Famer who can ball, and I'm proud to have him as my quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I didn't like all of that back and forth Brett Favre-esque stuff that he was spewing. I didn't want to hear that. You can't be the leader of the franchise. You can't be the dude chasing a Super Bowl and you telling folks, I don't know how much longer I want to play. Or you get Hozier, throw 5 interceptions against Jacksonville, and you sit up there and say to the media contingent, maybe I don't have it anymore. Hell is wrong with you? Can't do that. You can't do that. That is what he did. That was a problem. That was an absolute problem. That is not something that should be tolerated. Period. Having said that, Big Ben Roethlisberger is a stud. And as long as he can play the way that he's been playing, I'm good with it. Flip side to that is, look, we talking about Antonio Brown here. Ladies and gentlemen, may I be very, very clear. This is Antonio Brown over the last 5 years. The same Antonio Brown that is 30 years of age. That just turned 30 July 10th. That Antonio Brown. Last 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. For all you analytic dudes out there, I'm going to make it simple for you. 110 receptions, 1,499 yards. 129 receptions, 1,698 yards. 136 receptions, 1,834 yards. 106 receptions, 1,284 yards. 101 receptions, 1,533 yards. And for those of you who think there's some level of slippage or whatever the case may be, he missed 2 games last year, one game the year before. But more importantly than that, Le'Veon Bell had 406 touches. Another person who deserves his money. Antonio Brown is a bad brother. He's a bad somebody. And when you got him up there, you got to make sure that you're paying him. There shouldn't be a receiver in football paid more than Antonio Brown. Julio Jones, an absolute freak and a stud. He should get paid. DeAndre Hopkins in Houston, we know he can ball. He should get paid. There's a few cats out there. Mike Evans can make $55 million guaranteed dollars in Tampa. I like Mike Evans. He can ball. But have you seen the Buccaneers play? Have you seen how much they've struggled? Odell Beckham Jr. deserves his money. Just not more than Antonio Brown or Julio Jones. That's all I ask. He should be, you make him the highest paid receiver in all of football. I think you send the wrong message. And I'm not judging him for off the field stuff and all of this other stuff. The woman where he had pizza, she had some white powdered substance. Hey, maybe it was flour instead of cocaine. I don't know. The bottom line is, it didn't put Odell Beckham Jr. in a good light. Having said all of that, that does not mean he does not deserve his money. It just means that caution is the order of the day. So maybe you can have some stipulation in the contract that says you need to stay out of trouble. Outside of that, give the man his money. Just not more than Julio Jones or Antonio Brown. And invert that order. Period. Now let me move to what I consider an absolute atrocity. And yes, maybe the Los Angeles Rams will take care of Aaron Donald. Maybe Les Snead and Sean McVay and those boys and Stan Kroenke will figure out a way to get this done. I understand it. But I want to make the record clear. It's a travesty that Aaron Donald hasn't been taken care of. Reigning Defensive Player of the Year hasn't been taken care of. Are you kidding me? This brother has produced time and time and time again. And constantly we talk about, what is it? It ain't just about what you've done. It's about projecting what you may do forward. We've talked about all of these things. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Donald's 27 years old. He ain't 37. This brother's 27 years old. He is entering his 5th year in the NFL. He has missed 2 games in his career. He's young. He's big time. He's durable. He's dependable. He's a stud. And not only do you still fail to take care of him, Los Angeles Rams, Aqib Talib has been taken care of. Marcus Peters has been taken care of. They've been added to your roster to buffer your secondary. You brought in Ndamukong Suh there from Miami. You got Brandon Cooks in a trade from New England. And you took care of Todd Gurley. No harm in that. Because we know what a stud he is. But you don't take care of Aaron Donald? Really? Really? I mean, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You got to take care of this man. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hear stuff about the NFL salary cap and all of this other stuff. You got to take care of the people that take care of you. Brandon Cooks wasn't there yet last year when the Rams went to the playoffs. And Ndamukong Suh wasn't there last year when the Rams went to the playoffs. Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters weren't there. They were in Denver and Kansas City respectively when the Los Angeles Rams went to the playoffs. And despite holding out, and despite coming in at the last possible day after sitting out for weeks at a time because of his contract dispute back then, and you still not taking care of him, Aaron Donald balled. And now because you've got Ndamukong Suh, everybody's wondering how you going to run on these boys. How you going to pass on these boys. How big time this defense is going to be. Yes, you've got some questions with the Rams on the interior in terms of their linebacking core, but in terms of their ability to get to the passer, their ability to stuff the run, and their ability to defend against the pass in their secondary, they are on lockdown. These brothers are balling. Everybody anticipates it. And when Wade Phillips is your defensive coordinator, that's even more of a plus. So the big question about the Rams is Jared Goff and what he's going to do. Because we all suspect Todd Gurley is going to ball. And now that you've got Jared Goff, who no longer looks like a bum, and instead is looking like a young stud that we thought he was going to be when he was drafted number 1 overall ahead of Carson Wentz. Now we got a situation where you going to pick now to screw over Aaron Donald? Why are they doing this, ladies and gentlemen? Because they can. Because NFL rules allow it. He doesn't show up, what happens? You know what? He forfeits it a year towards becoming an unrestricted free agent, and as a result, he's a restricted free agent. Now, according to our very own Adam Schefter here at ESPN, it's no big deal because Aaron Donald believes whether he's restricted or unrestricted, you know what? Somebody's going to want me and they're going to sign me. Here's the problem. When you're restricted, the team has the right to match the offer. My position is clear. He should do everything he can, even if it means coming back for him to become an unrestricted free agent so he can just get up and leave. That's a hard push because I know no one should want to leave Los Angeles. It's just the truth. If you haven't been there, get there. It's special. So I understand nobody really wants to leave L.A. But the flip side to it is that ain't nobody asks you to go from L.A. to Buffalo. What they're saying is, excuse me, get yourself in a situation where ultimately what you can do is you can go out there, ball out, pray and hope that you stay healthy and position yourself to be an unrestricted free agent so somebody will appreciate you more than the Los Angeles Rams. I respect the hell out of Les Snead. My problem with Los Angeles before Sean McVay arrived was all about Jeff Fisher. who I believe was a football abomination in terms of his results. I'm not saying the man doesn't know football. I'm not saying he couldn't coach football. I'm saying what I do know and what I'm qualified to talk about is the results. In 22 years as a head coach in an NFL team, he missed the playoffs 16 damn times. How the hell do you have a job as a head coach for 22 years when 16 of them were outside of the playoffs? Nepotism going on somewhere, damn it. Or blackmail or something, got pictures on somebody or something. I don't understand it. But that was the past. That's not now. And now that Jeff Fisher's going and Sean McVay is in here and the Rams are moving in a forward direction, props to them. I like Les Snead. I actually like Stan Kroenke. And I think that they are moving in the right direction. But you got to take care of this brother. You got to take care of Aaron Donald. You can't leave this man hanging like this. You don't take care of the people who produce for you, particularly with his upside. Who will you take care of? And I'm not knocking Aqib Talib or Marcus Peters or Ndamukong Suh, but we know they've been in the media for some of the wrong reasons in the past. But I'm not knocking them. I'm rooting for those brothers. But you can't have them and have everybody cool being in camp, being taken care of, and you leave Aaron Donald hanging. You can't do that. We ain't talking about J.J. Watt these days, ladies and gentlemen. J.J. Watt, a 3-time defensive player of the year who's out to prove that he still has it and is striving to regain his great form that he had in the past. But there's a reason we haven't been talking about him. And guess what? It ain't only because he's been hurt. It's also because there's a new sheriff in town. And his name is Aaron Donald. And you better give this brother the respect and the props that he deserves. And the cash that comes with it. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. One other thing I want to get to. I saw the protest outside Ohio State yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, it was an embarrassment. If those folks came out there to make the case, that they came out there to make the case that Urban Meyer should keep his job. They failed. And it had nothing to do with Urban Meyer. It had everything to do with their own idiocy. Did you see some of the signs out there? We assumed these people were educated. Some of them clearly were not. Acting like a bunch of juveniles. Calling ESPN fake news and talking about particular talent from ESPN, not me. You know, talk about some other things and some other people. It's like, really? What's the matter with y'all? But I got to tell you something else, too. There was something else that made this even just as embarrassing for Urban Meyer as ever. Ezekiel Elliott's father, Ezekiel Elliott, star for the Dallas Cowboys, star running back for the Dallas Cowboys, former star at Ohio State, obviously suspended last year for 6 games, following allegations of domestic violence levied against him and what have you. Ezekiel Elliott's father, Stacy Elliott, made a fool of himself yesterday. I need to say this. And I don't say this out of hate in any way. As far as I'm concerned, any man, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, you raise your kids to be productive citizens in our society, I'm proud of you. Even though it's your job, I'm proud of you because it ain't easy. Nothing's harder than being a mama. Being a daddy's pretty damn close. But the exception, one would argue, not me, but one would argue would be Stacy Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott got himself into that trouble no parent should ever want their child involved in. A. B, he obviously came out in defense of his son, which was understandable, and we're just thinking, hey, you came to the defense of your son. But your son served a 6-game suspension. And after a year and a half, Ezekiel Elliott was finally in the news about football and how we're looking forward to the 2018 season, not the past alleged transgressions involving domestic violence. Yet Ezekiel Elliott's father reminded everybody of what his son was involved with because he decided to take his behind up with these folks, about 100 people. Now, mind you, the student population at Ohio State is 66,000. Assuming most of them have at least one parent, let alone two, you're talking about 100,000 parents that could have been up there. Not to mention alumni members, supporters of the university and beyond. And yet only 100 people showed up. That was embarrassing in and of itself. But Stacy Elliott, the father of Ezekiel Elliott, either just forgot, was oblivious to, or was too idiotic to care, and showed up at this rally on behalf of Urban Meyer, who is now mired in this domestic violence scandal because he allegedly, purportedly covered up an assistant coach committing domestic violence. And Ezekiel Elliott's father decides to show up to that rally? Yes, sir, your intent was to show up in support of Urban Meyer. But what you did was remind everybody about your son and why you felt the need to be there to begin with. And yet what made it worse, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't even talking about Urban Meyer's innocence. He said something far more profane, far more ignorant than y'all could imagine. I'm going to make sure I got that sound for y'all when we get back. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
I'm a squeaky toy, and I've got one job, getting chomped on by this little ankle sniffer. So pardon me for feeling inept compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like while I'm getting slobbered on, Geico is creating cool technology like their mobile app, which lets people pay their bills or file a claim. Plus, Geico is the fastest growing auto insurer for the last 10 years. Is it too much for me to ask for one more feature? Fast and friendly claim service like Geico, maybe? Oh, great. I'm getting buried again.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
31 minutes past hour number 1 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Start of hour number 2, the great Paul Finebaum, the mouth of the South, expert on college football. He'll have something to explain to us in regards to the whole Urban Meyer situation and beyond. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Plus, he's going to touch on us about Jalen Hurts, what he had to say about Nick Saban and some other stuff going on. Interesting to talk to him about all of that and more. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Before I went to the break, Stacy Elliott, Ezekiel Elliott's father, I said to you that he didn't sound great. He did not sound great at all. But listen for yourself. This is Stacy Elliott, the father of Ezekiel Elliott, at the rally for Urban Meyer yesterday. Listen to this.
You know, the media uses this word control so loosely. Urban Meyer is not God. He doesn't run Ohio State football program like God would run it. He doesn't control it like God controls the sun, the moon, the stars, the weather. He's not that in control. If anybody really looks into this and are not haters of Ohio State and haters of Urban Meyer, they will see the actual facts. And all of those who know Urban Meyer need to stand up and be men and speak and defend what is right.
What the hell is he talking about? What the hell is he talking about? I guess this was an effort by him to express the fact that this sentiment or this notion that innocent men are being convicted in the court of public opinion at the Ohio State. First it was his son, and then it was Urban Meyer. Did not Urban Meyer admit he lied to the media? Did not Urban Meyer admit he should have handled things differently? Did not Urban Meyer admit that he could have handled things differently by acknowledging that he knew something he claimed he did not know? Now, if you're Stacy Elliott and you're of the mindset, look, let's not treat this man like he's the one who committed domestic violence, I got that part. That makes sense. But that is not what Stacy Elliott said. That is not what Stacy Elliott said. Play it again.
You know, the media uses this word control so loosely. Urban Meyer is not God. He doesn't run Ohio State football program like God would run it. He doesn't control it like God controls the sun, the moon, the stars, the weather. He's not that in control. If anybody really looks into this and are not haters of Ohio State and haters of Urban Meyer, they will see the actual facts. And all of those who know Urban Meyer need to stand up and be men and speak and defend what is right.
What are the facts, Stacy Elliott? What are the facts? Is it or is it not a fact that Urban Meyer was the head of Florida's program when 31 arrests took place under his watch? Is it or is it not a fact that there was an incident of domestic violence involving Zach Smith dating back to 2009 that Urban Meyer was aware of? Is it not a fact that he was also made aware in 2015 of another domestic violence issue? Is it not a fact that the ex-wife of Zach Smith told Shelly Myers, Urban's wife, about what transpired, and that she told the alleged victim that she was going to need to tell her husband? Is it not a fact that the husband now admitted that he didn't know after denying that he knew? What facts are you talking about to buffer your argument? I mean, just the sheer ignorance of it all. And see, and here's where Stacy Elliott comes across so irresponsibly. Ladies and gentlemen, we looking forward to the NFL season 2018. No, but I promise you, nobody was even thinking about Ezekiel Elliott. It was the past. We're moving forward. You served your 6 games last year. Let's get it on. Let's see what the Dallas Cowboys do this year. You thinking more about Des Bryant than you thinking about Ezekiel Elliott's transgressions, because Ezekiel Elliott's going to be back. Des Bryant is not. He can't find a job. And you wonder what Dak Prescott's going to do. You're thinking about more about Dak Prescott and the whole national anthem issue than you've been thinking about Ezekiel Elliott's transgressions. But Stacy Elliott, in a zest to defend Urban Meyer for facts that he don't know, and ostensibly to clear his son's name, even though it's far too late for all of that, you find yourself there at that rally yesterday, looking ridiculous. I mean, the judgment calls folks make sometimes, it's unreal. It's just unreal. And if you notice anything about me, ladies and gentlemen, I talk about professional athletes. I talk about issues. I talk about those things. I don't touch people's parents. I don't do that. I mean, that man, for all I know, is a God-fearing man who loves his son and came to the defense of his son, and I respect that. I totally respect that. But you had no business being at that rally yesterday, because now you put your son back in the news for the wrong reasons. It's just stupid. Let's just call it what it is. It's just stupid. Now we ain't thinking about just football with Ezekiel Elliott. Oh, that's why Mr. Stacy Elliott was there. Oh, that's why. So I guess by saying Urban's innocent, he's trying to say Ezekiel Elliott's innocent too, and blah, 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 blah. So Ezekiel Elliott, the football player for the Dallas Cowboys, is now the son of Stacy Elliott, who was at a rally on behalf of Urban Meyer mishandling a domestic violence situation a year after his son was involved in a domestic violence situation at the same damn university. Just stupid. You could have given your support to Urban Meyer in another way. It didn't have to be at a rally with 100 people, half of who looked ignorant as hell. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'm trying to tell you, it's just unbelievable some of the decisions that folks make. Just unbelievable. 888-SAY-ESPN. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio before Paul Finebaum comes on in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast. Damn it, I mean it!
888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. JP, you're live with Stephen A. What's going on, baby?
What's up, Stephen A? What's up, Stephen A? Hey, Stephen A. I want to talk a little bit about this Odell Beckham situation.
Yep.
Are they trying to make an excuse? Are they is my New York Giants trying to make an excuse why Eli Manning, the future Hall of Famer, is going to have a piss-poor season this year by not signing Odell Beckham? They better sign Odell Beckham. They better sign him if they know what's good for them. They should also add Dez Bryant in that deal as well.
Why Dez Bryant? I don't think you need Dez Bryant if you've got Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, and Saquon Barkley. No. I don't think you use somebody like Dez for depth, because Dez is trying to resurrect his career, and he's trying to position himself to be marquee again in his eyes. And you don't do that by bringing him in as a safety net. You do that by bringing him in as a high-profile individual.
In the offense that we're running with this two tight end set, we're only going to have two receivers, okay? We need receivers that's going to command attention. I love Sterling Shepard, but he's not going to command attention like Dez Bryant would. They're going to load the box up, and they're going to break up my brand-new car and Saquon Barkley. That's what's going to happen this season, especially this first 8 games. 10 games.
Right.
The first 10 games.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be serious. So, we need to really, stop playing games.
Stop playing games. Take care of him, but don't tell me he deserves to be the top paid receiver in football now. Don't say that, JP.
Okay,
hold on. JP,
I
got him at number 3, JP. I don't think that he should get paid more than Antonio Brown or Julio Jones. Do you have a problem with that?
I'm not going to have a problem with that.
All
That's
right.
cool.
But
he should be getting paid more than Eli Manning.
No. No receiver should get paid more than a quarterback. That's not true. Let's Jay Cutler's your quarterback. Then I make an exception for that. But for the most part, no receiver should be getting paid more than the quarterback. JP, I got to run, man. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Jeff. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Jeff. Go ahead, buddy.
What's going on, Stephen A? How are you today, my friend?
Thank you. Thank you for calling. What's up?
Very good. So I got two things. One is that I think Stacy Elliott must have graduated from the LeVar Ball School of Speech Communication, talking about, the moon and the stars.
Jeff, you're smarter than that. Come on, bro. Make a better point than that. Don't call up here to ridicule a grown man who's a father and all of that other stuff on that level. Give me a substantive argument rather than how he sounds. Go ahead.
All right, so here is my other thought. So not only, if I'm an AD at any other school in the nation, high profile or not, I'm not so sure that not only am I not ever going to even think about hiring Urban Meyer based on his ethics, but as far as his leadership goes, I mean, he has the track record from Florida with all of the arrests, but if this whole thing is stemming back to 2009, if you're the leader of an organization or a so-called leader of an organization, why are you even going to keep anybody on with this kind of drama kicking off in your locker room for up to 9 years? Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think anybody's that good of a coach.
Well, let me say this to you. You're a college football fan?
More pro than college.
Huh?
More pro than college.
Who's your team?
Eagles.
If you had a coach that won 90% of his games and delivered you 2 Super Bowl championships, would this transgression be enough for you to let him go?
Yeah, you got to, man. You got to eventually just to get your fan base back and to get the majority of the
people. First of all, whatever point you make, I support you. You got a right to your opinion on this one. But what fan base have you lost? You said
that's a very valid point because this is America and people are going to forgive and forget faster than they ought to. That's a very good point, Steve.
So I'm asking you a question, and I'm allowing you, Jeff, to instigate this conversation because I'm going to ask every caller this question that brings up this subject. If it's a pro or in this case college, and it's a 2-time national champion at that school, I ain't even bring up the one he won in Florida, a 2-time national champion at that school that wins 90% of his game, and he's not the one who committed the domestic violence act. Supposedly it's his assistant coach. Are you letting go of that man?
All right, hear me out on this one. I'm going to say yes, and this is why. Hear me out.
All right, real quick, go ahead.
If you're the kind of organization with the clout and the legacy that they have, you shouldn't. What's the word I'm looking for? You shouldn't worry. You shouldn't mess up your integrity. You shouldn't compromise the integrity of the program the way Penn State did.
Hey, Jeff, I agree. Last question, and I need this quick answer. How many people you think feel that way?
How many people what?
How many people do you think feel that way, what you just expressed?
Not enough.
There we go. Jeff, have a good day, brother. Appreciate you calling. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That's really what this comes down to. You love your team. You getting rid of Urban Meyer over something an assistant coach did? That what you going to do? It's just a question. Paul Finebaum will have an answer. He'll be up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Come to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you over the airways of ESPN Radio. 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. As promised, live with me on the air right now. They call him the mouth of the South because obviously he's the preeminent radio voice in the South, preeminent voice, period, in the South on all things college football. I like to call him about all things football, period, because I think he's forgotten more football than most of us know. We all have a specialty. His is college football, but this man knows football backwards and forwards. I'm talking about the one and only Mr. Paul Finebaum here live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, buddy? Good afternoon. How you doing?
Stephen, a pleasure. And by the way, on our afternoon show yesterday, we replayed your rant on Jalen Hurts about 4 or 5 times, and some the best preachers in America could have learned from that rant. That was unbelievable.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul, but let me ask you a question because you would know this better than me. I know that Jalen Hurts was 26-2 as a starter at Alabama, but was I wrong about what I said? To me, he's an incredible athlete, but he can't throw. I don't understand the problem.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, I got home last night. My wife said she had seen you on First Take, and she said, "I'm really glad you didn't say that." I go, "Well, thanks. I appreciate that." She said, "But there's nothing he said that was wrong." So I mean,
Listen,
you told the truth. And unfortunately, Stephen A., in college football, we try to dodge the truth too often, which may be one reason why we're having another discussion here in a minute about Urban Meyer. But, yeah, I mean, those are the facts. And you could grab anyone on that Alabama football team, and they would tell you the same thing. They all like Jalen Hurts, but he can't throw the ball. And that's why Alabama didn't beat Clemson the year before. I think there were 7 consecutive third-down plays. He couldn't complete a 6-yard pass. And ultimately, that's why he got pulled. And Stephen A., I saw you in Atlanta. I mean, it didn't matter whether you're watching it on TV or on the sidelines. He was getting pulled out of that game. Otherwise, Georgia was going to roll over them by 30 points.
It was a nightmare. He was 3 of 8 for 21 yards, I believe, if I remember correctly. He was absolutely awful. They were down 13-0 at halftime. Couldn't get anything going. And I'm saying that's how that's how you looked in the national championship game. And there's actually a debate as to whether or not you should be the starting quarterback this season. You got to be kidding me. I don't understand it.
No, it's really not. And listen, Saban is a smart coach. He doesn't want to declare one because he doesn't want to see Tua get hurt the first game and be totally screwed. So he's trying to dance around it. It's not working. And hey, give Jalen credit. He spoke his mind. I wish his parents would show some diplomacy and maybe not speak out as much as they have. But, yeah, he was frustrated. I don't have a problem with that, but it's not going to change the fact that he hasn't gotten any better. In fact, Stephen A., I think he's actually gotten worse.
Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get into the big story in college football over the last few days. And by the way, you sound just a touch muffled, Paul, and just want to let you know that. So maybe you step back from the phone just a touch. But let me say this. Urban Meyer, I watched that rally yesterday, and it was nothing short of embarrassing. What were your thoughts about 100 people showing up to defend Urban Meyer at a university with the student populace being in excess of 66,000? What did you make of that?
Well, listen, I see college football fans every single weekend with what I do, and I saw some of that last night. Was it pathetic? Yes. I mean, did the signs make any sense? No. But you can look at a political rally of both parties anywhere in this country, and you'll see equal stupidity. What really concerns me is the fact that nobody last night, including Ezekiel Elliott's dad, have had one thing to say about Courtney Smith, who in my mind is the victim here and really what the story should be about. I frankly thought Urban Meyer, who's trying to play the spin game, should have immediately issued a statement saying, listen, that's not that's not what I'm all about. Attacking the media. I mean, Urban Meyer worked at ESPN a couple of years ago. I mean, we all know that.
That's right.
But he didn't do it because Urban Meyer is fighting for his job. He's fighting for survival. And in my mind, he will do anything at this point to keep his job. And everyone knows what happened Friday. He threw his boss under the bus. Okay. Try that at work. Actually, don't try that at work. Because,
I was getting ready to say, I don't know about that one, Paul.
I mean, there are a couple of people who have security and get away with that. One's Urban Meyer, the other is probably Stephen A. Smith. But I couldn't do it, and most people listening couldn't do it.
It's interesting because I got the impression he threw his bosses under the bus, but I was of this mindset. Just because he lied to the media doesn't make it a crime. I mean, coaches lie to the media all the time. You've been lied to for many years. So have I. We understand that this is what comes along with it. We get it. Lying to the university, lying to law enforcement officials and things of that nature is far more egregious than lying to the media. What do you make about folks who would make that argument on Urban Meyer's behalf?
No, listen. I'm Stephen A. I'm more surprised when a coach tells me the truth than when they lie. But I don't think that's really the issue. It's what did Urban Meyer do, and what has he done for the last 8 or 9 years with Zach Smith? Doesn't look like he's done very much, and people have made a big deal out of the story that he's Earl Bruce's grandson. And for those who don't know, Earl Bruce succeeded Woody Hayes at Ohio State. He's Urban Meyer's mentor. But that's an important thing to remember, because when if you're doing a favor for your mentor, to me, it makes you more vulnerable to looking the other way when you hear and see firsthand issues of domestic violence. And that just cannot be ignored here. And it's my belief that's what happened. I think Urban Meyer has been aware of it all along, but he kept pushing it under the rug. Because from what I asked a former Ohio State player this question the other day, Stephen A., someone who knows. This isn't just some guy that spent 4 years there. This is someone who's there all the time. And I said, what's the deal with Zach Smith? He said, I don't know, because he really wasn't even that good of a coach. He wasn't a great recruiter. He was a position coach. There was nothing spectacular about him. And Stephen A., when you're Urban Meyer or Nick Saban, those are the two best coaches in the world, why do you tolerate average to subpar position coaches? Because you're doing your mentor a favor. And if you'll do your mentor a favor, you'll look the other way when this type of malfeasance is going on under your nose.
We're talking to the great Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. So having said all of that, him doing his mentor a favor, him throwing his boss under the bus, etc. How are you viewing, or how do you think Urban Meyer is being viewed as this continues to unfold? Once upon a time, we were talking about how Urban Meyer is about to lose his job. Even you went on the air and talked about how a suspension appears on the verge of being more likely than a firing because of how things are beginning to unfold. Explain your change in thinking, if indeed there was a change, and what you make of folks now thinking he may end up keeping his job at Ohio State.
Yeah, Stephen, we're victims of the moment because we're watching this in real time. And it just seemed to me that when he issued that ridiculous statement the other day, a lot of people who thought he should be fired were suddenly buying in. It may be a snapshot, but it's also my cynicism toward college football in general, that the universities will do anything they can. Now, and I realize the time that we're living in, but to me, Urban Meyer seems capable of overcoming that because of his importance to this university. And that's why I took a different view from them when we talked last week on First Take to what I said yesterday. It could still change. I still believe there's more to come out. And I just know a number of reporters that are digging through whatever there is to dig through in Columbus, and I can't believe we have seen the end of the story. So that's why it's a little difficult to make a snapshot. But when you give me an opportunity to look at a university and see them doing the wrong thing, I will raise my hand every time, because I've seen it. I mean, they rarely ever do the right thing. They only do it when they're forced to and when they're called upon. I mean, why did Urban Meyer get rid of Zach Smith a couple weeks ago? Because it finally it was made public. Things that were kept under the wraps. I mean, he got rid of him in a second. The moment this story became public. So that's hard to imagine that he doesn't have culpability here. Now, yeah, the Gene Smith factor is cannot be ignored. It seemed to me by Urban tossing the grenade down the hall, he gave the university a way to say, okay, well, let's get rid of Gene Smith. Nobody cares about him, even though he's given good service to that university for a long time. We can save Urban. We'll suspend him for 2 games or 4 games or however many games. He'll donate X number of dollars to a women's movement, and I don't say that disparagingly. I just say that's what I think will happen. He'll give an interview. Stephen A., how many times have you watched this? So that's where I'm coming from. Yeah, I'm cynical. I have every right to be cynical because I cover college football.
But do you think this is potentially the end of Urban Meyer at Ohio State, or potentially the end of Urban Meyer, period, as a football coach and on the collegiate level?
I mean, listen, I think he could be fired. My guess is he won't, but no. I mean, there's always, the fact that he's not the person that is accused of domestic violence will give him a chance to breathe somewhere else. That's what makes this a little more difficult to digest than a simple case. I mean, this isn't Harvey Weinstein here. I mean, that wasn't difficult. This is a guy who may have enabled it. By the way, there's nothing great about that.
Right.
Okay, but I just think he has a better chance of survival because it's not him specifically.
Well, exactly. The enabler is given more of a pass than the actual perpetrator. We understand that. We're talking to Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Ezekiel Elliott's father being at the rally, at the protest yesterday, I just thought was one of the heights of ignorance that I've seen in quite some time. You're the dad of a guy a little more than a year removed from allegations of domestic violence while at the same university. And now he's trying to overcome a 6-game suspension and resurrect his career as a stud running back with the Dallas Cowboys in the National Football League. And the dad shows up to this rally on behalf of Urban Meyer, spewing his nonsense. To me, it just put his son back. It reminded us, rather, of what his son had to deal with. And I don't think it helped Urban Meyer, and I actually think it hurt Ezekiel Elliott to some degree, and just for publicity purposes alone. What are your thoughts about that?
No, I mean, I totally agree. And, I was sad. I was really sad because, you used the word ignorant. I don't know the man. I do know Ezekiel Elliott. And, I mean, other than the domestic violence issues, and I'm not just saying, other than that, and this is Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? I mean, I've always found him to be, a fairly intelligent, easy person to deal with. And don't forget, Zeke Elliott went after Urban Meyer after that Michigan State game a couple of years ago that cost Ohio State a national championship appearance. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it just made no sense. I'm always, and I know you, Stephen A., it's always hard to blame someone for what their parents do or blame a parent for a son. But, I mean, it was just such a bad look. I mean, everyone there, everything that's come out about this story. I mean, I sat there about to go on ESPN the other night after the Zach Smith interview, and, I mean, I was sick to my stomach watching that guy. I mean, literally, after watching his ex-wife the day before. So it's always a little bit difficult to make snap judgments. But in Zeke Elliott's case, I would really like to have been in a room with Zeke that night and asked him what he thought, because, I mean, he had to be just flat out embarrassed.
Yeah. Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Before I let you go, Alabama, they're going to be number one. Who's going to be the biggest competitor to Alabama this year? Is it going to be Georgia? Is it going to be Clemson? Who's it going to be?
I think Clemson, Stephen A., and I know some people are daring to predict Clemson as the number one team. I think they are they're the major threat. And the reason is not only do they have a quarterback that you haven't heard that much about, that Trevor Lawrence, who is going to be the starter, by the way. There's no doubt about that. Kelly Bryant, he may start the first game, but he won't be starting the last. But Clemson has a defensive line that we may never have seen before in college football, and that's saying a lot when you look at some of the Alabama lines in recent history. But keep your eye on them. They won't be tested that often. They'll play at A&M the second week of the year. We'll make a big deal about that because of
Jimbo Fisher. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game, but they will not lose that game. By the way, you want to talk about a weird schedule. Texas A&M under Jimbo, they have Clemson in the second game of the year, and the fourth game they go to Alabama. You like that start?
I like it. I might show up to that Alabama game. I might show up and hang with you, Paul Finebaum. That's what I might do.
I'm going to be there. Let me show you some Southern football, Stephen A.
I might do that. Hey, listen, before I let you get on out of here, your thoughts about the 13 North Carolina players that were penalized for trying to sell their special edition of Nike Michael Jordan shoes?
It's everything you hate about the NCAA. Maybe a minor slap on the wrist because you have to follow the rules, allegedly, but to suspend them for some of those players for as many as 4 games, I mean, it's what we harp about all the time during the basketball season, but let's harp about it in football season. It's outrageous. I mean, why? I mean, why can't they get it right at the NCAA? Someone made a good point that Mark Emmert's, alligator loafers probably cost 10 times the amount of all the profits made by these young players. It's just a bad look for the NCAA, and it enhances the idea that they just simply don't care about the student athletes.
I joked around getting on the players because how dare they sell Michael Jordan shoes considering that it's Michael Jordan, for crying out loud, and it's North Carolina. I mean, it's a betrayal as far as I'm concerned. But I totally get your point about the NCAA, and I got a solution to make the NCAA get in line. Let's look at their finances. Let's look at the finances of U.S. university presidents and athletic directors and everybody in between. All of these folks for these ad hoc committees and beyond who basically make rules and regulations hovering over these players. Let's investigate their finances, and maybe they'll be a bit more lenient.
Yeah, well, just go to a private jet hangar and you'll see them fly in. You'll see them get on chauffeured limousines and stay in presidential suites. That's where you start.
I got it. Paul Finebaum, always appreciate you, buddy. Thanks so much. You take care of yourself. Looking forward to seeing you and hearing you on the Paul Finebaum show as well. So thanks a lot, buddy.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Stephen A.
Thank you. The one and only Paul Finebaum, my buddy, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Adam, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hi. What if Zach Smith didn't do it? I mean, he hasn't been convicted of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Do we all put away our pitchforks and torches? I mean, there is a process in the United States, a due process.
Stop right there. Adam, why don't we just address the big elephant in the room, okay? Because God knows that I've gone through these feelings sometimes myself, and damn it, too many people dancing on eggshells and we scared to say it. What if Zach Smith is the one telling the truth? That's basically what you're saying. That's basically what you're saying. And you're also saying it's sad because we live in a world where right now in this moment in time, even if he is telling the truth, until we can definitively find out that he is, we can't even say that. That's the world we live in.
The person that should be on the administrative leave is Zach Smith until the due process is over, and then Urban Meyer should still be coaching.
Well, Urban Meyer should not have lied about it. No question about it. And I guess the investigation is going to take place because evidently he knew about something the administration didn't know about, even though he's trying to give the impression that he didn't, that they did know about it. So we don't know. We'll find out more and more. But what you're also alluding to is cases like Reuben Foster for the 49ers, who proclaimed his innocence after he was accused of domestic violence, was excoriated over the national airwaves, only to find out that the alleged victim came out and admitted she flat out lied because she was upset that he broke up with her. And Reuben Foster, there were some people that didn't even have the decency to give him an apology.
Yeah, and does she get fired? I don't understand. Does she get on administrative leave for something like this? Does she go to jail?
I don't know. I don't know where she works at. I don't know. That's fair. These are fair questions. It's a fair questions, Adam. I'm not going to desert you on this. These are fair questions on your part. Fair questions. Okay?
Yeah, this is America. We have to look at the big picture. There's people that we pay with our tax dollars.
I will say this to you,
though. These determinations.
I will say this to you, Adam. Innocence until proven guilty, a fabric by which we live by in this country, applies to our court of law. It has nothing to do with the court of public opinion.
Yes, but it is the foundation.
You're right.
In which we all agreed upon is the fairest of foundations. So although it doesn't apply in employment,
right,
if you have a question about something, you have to. That's our fallback.
But you know,
the Constitution of the United States of America.
But you know what the problem with it, Adam, is? Publicist, PR, media relations, all of these mechanisms are in place to, as a design to conduct evasive measures, whether it's to flat out deny or whether it's to delay. And so because you have those mechanisms in place, it elevates the importance of optics, of how things look, of the court of public opinion, because if you have to wait until the facts come out all the time, sometimes it takes forever.
Yeah,
and that's where your problem lies.
You're not qualified to string this man up because this livelihood.
I agree, Adam. I agree, but I'm just telling you, the world that we're living in, that's what we're dealing with. I don't disagree with you, my brother. I am my brother from another mother. I'm trying to tell you, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, I'm riding with you. But that's the world we're living in, Adam.
1,000 people at that rally, because there should be some sort of support for this man until we know the facts.
Well, how about this? How about there should be no support but no venom either? And we just wait. And we just wait.
Yeah.
The problem is, in this day and age, you can't afford to because the college football season is starting in 3 weeks, and we don't want to delay the inevitable. If he's guilty of such things, we need to put forth the due diligence to make sure we find out exactly what his role was before that season begins. I guess that's what they're saying.
Right. But the athletic director, according to Zach Smith, called him in from a recruiting trip and said, we need to talk. So the athletic director, I think, is more responsible because he's both.
Well, that's exactly the impression that Urban Meyer wants to give. But we all know who the highest paid employee is for these state universities and who's the most visible individual and usually the most powerful. And it's usually that big time head coach. So bringing Gene Smith into the equation, you're clearly throwing him under the bus. And I'm not buying that either. But Adam, I got to run. Thank you so much for the call. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with more of your phone calls in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Back with your calls and more in a minute.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Some breaking news. I don't know exactly what this is involving. Looking at my producer, Jonathan Winthrop, I don't know exactly what this is involving. Jonathan, I really don't know. It's talking about Charles Oakley. Attorney says he has pled no contest to a misdemeanor in his gambling arrest case in Las Vegas. I love my man Oak. He's a rough rider. Just want him to be cool, be safe, and live his life and be happy. That's all I want for him. That's all I want for him. One of the saddest moments I've seen is when he had that altercation at the Madison Square Garden. And all those cops had to come forward. Don't want to see something like that again. Don't ever want to see something like that again. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Oscar. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What's up, Stephen A. Smith? Thank you for taking my call.
No problem. What's up?
Hey, when you compare the NFL Players Association with the Major League Baseball Association and even the NBA,
there is no comparison.
Don't you think the NFL is the Player Association is just getting punked all the time? Like,
here's my point. I think I can't knock you for making that claim because players within the NFL have done the same thing. They've made those claims as well. Here's what I would say to you, however. Major League Baseball is America's national pastime. A lot of their players don't come from impoverished backgrounds. As a result, they have the intestinal fortitude, the wherewithal, the financial means to hold out, to fight harder, and to fight longer than some NBA and NFL players. In the case of the NBA, you have a situation where league wins usually over the Players Association, but in the same breath, the players, particularly with the advent of social media, have done a marvelous job of marketing and elevating their own marketability and their brand. And as a result, it makes them more formidable. And because of that, they're able to pinch the owners a bit more than NFL players can. In the case of the NFL, You got 1,800 plus players, whereas there was only like 450 plus in the NBA. The NFL is king. There's 16 games a year. They also come from impoverished backgrounds, not to mention the fact that the window for these players are 3 to 4 years max. You can use scabs to cross the picket lines and play. NFL has certainly done that in the past. So NFL, the Players Association within the NFL, and NFL players themselves have more working against them than the players from the other leagues. And that's what we have to appreciate.
Yeah, and I think, like you even mentioned it yesterday with the Osuna case, how they keep things quiet when it comes to domestic violence. And
no, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I thought Major League Baseball did an outstanding job. A 75-game penalty is severe. They certainly are not playing games. And the Astros, as, Carl Ravitch, a notable voice, a preeminent voice for baseball for ESPN, proclaimed yesterday before calling the Yankees-White Sox game last night on ESPN. He said, make no mistake about it. You know what? The Astros players haven't been that receptive to Osuna, so he's feeling it in the locker room. A.J. Hinch, the manager, has expressed some trepidation about it, not to mention the fact that Major League Baseball, invoked that 75-game penalty. All of those things are true. All of those things have been said. But the flip side to it all is that, again, the public at large doesn't make as much noise about it, Oscar, as they would if he had been an NBA or a National Football League player. That's where the problem lies.
Yeah, I think that just the NFL Players Association, they need to step it up.
I got you.
This next collective bargaining agreement, they have to demand guaranteed contracts. They have to want what everybody else is
Adam,
getting.
Oscar, rather, I got to run, but let me tell you something. It don't mean anything if brothers don't have their money saved and ready to feel the pinch of not working. Doesn't mean a thing, but I appreciate the call. Thank you. Let's go to Champ. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Talk to me, man. What's going on?
I want to address, what happened yesterday when you was talking about Trump and LeBron. But first,
sure,
I want to get on Urban. I want to get on Urban Meyer, and everybody is talking about and want him to be fired. My thing is this: if he's fired tomorrow, he's going to be the most coveted head coach in all of college football next season. So my thing, if you believe that what he did was egregious, that why is he going to be even offered a job next year? And this is what happens with these white coaches throughout the years. You think about Calipari at UMass, with the scandal at UMass, at Memphis, and then he goes to Kentucky. You think of Bobby Petrino, get another opportunity to coach, and so forth and so on. But when the player gets in trouble, whether it's on the professional level, the collegiate level, or if he wants to transfer, they have all these little nitpick rules, and they blackball these players away from even getting employment,
right,
or getting an opportunity to go somewhere else to be successful. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it. I don't like the double standard. I think that people who are in positions of power and authority, they should be held to a higher standard, particularly when they're supposed to be leaders of young men.
I agree. And a lot of times on television, on the radio, folks don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation talk, as I call it. And when I think about this, I want you to hear me out real carefully. I'm far from a racist. I think we all it's one race, the human race. But when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and then you have folks like LeBron in the NBA that said we're going to stand. To me, it was like a slap in the face to Colin Kaepernick, because as a brother, we're supposed to come together. When they see the divide, they go ahead and conquer it. Here's where I'm going with this. When the guy was talking about the NFL and the NBA Players Association and the MLB. Now, this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but this is the truth. Name me the top white athletes in America right now. And it says this: they all have white agents, and they all married to white women. But when you put all the top black players there, 95% of them have white agents, and probably about 45% of them don't have black wives. Now, that's very uncomfortable.
I don't want. Let's stick to the part about the agents. Let's not talk about the wives and all of that other stuff because we don't know that definitively. And you know what? A lot of people going to be that's irrelevant. The heart loves what the heart loves, my man. You love who you love. You want who you want. I'm certainly not going to sit up there and knock anybody for that. But I hear you on the agent part. Stick to the agent part. And by the way, I got to get ready to get on out of here. What is your point about what I was saying yesterday in regards to Trump and LeBron?
What I'm saying, though, like these athletes, everybody wants to ride behind LeBron about what Trump said. LeBron calls him a bum. Then Trump comes back and double down. We as athletes, you know what I'm saying, as black people, athletes and so forth, we should come together as one all the time. I still want to know why these guys didn't step up and stand behind Colin Kaepernick. Why is that? Why should we support LeBron? You say what?
Because they felt he didn't have a plan. You got to remember, when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, he didn't know what the fallout was going to be.
Really?
He didn't know what the fallout was going to be. You got to remember, Marshawn Lynch sat on a cooler eating a banana during the national anthem. Nobody said a word. And he did that all the time. Think about that. Has anybody spoke about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf or Craig Hodges and so forth for those guys? No. They didn't speak for them. They didn't speak against them.
And before I get off,
hurry up.
Bottom line is this. Everything when it comes to LeBron is calculated, no different than Donald Trump. I hate to be the bad person to say it.
I don't understand what that means. What do you mean everything is calculated?
I mean, come on. He signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. He wrote a letter 4 years ago that he'd never leave Cleveland. He waited to have his press conference about his new school to deflect the fact that he lied to the Cleveland Cavaliers again. Nobody wants to address that in the media.
Lied to the Cleveland Cavaliers about what?
Pull the letter up. When he wrote his letter, he said uninterrupted because he was promoting uninterrupted when he wrote his letter going back from Miami to Cleveland. Gotcha. And he said he was happy to come back because he was glad to be home. This is where he wanted to retire. Now he's a Los Angeles Laker. But he waited to have his press conference because he wanted to deflect and talk about his school because nobody would interview and ask the true question and say, why did you leave Cleveland? Well, you said you was never leaving this place.
You know what? That's ridiculous. I got to run. I appreciate the call, champ. I'll talk to you later about it. That's ridiculous, and here's why. There's plenty of time to ask him about the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's absolutely nothing wrong with LeBron James wanting some pub for this I Promise initiative that's going to benefit thousands upon thousands of kids. I mean, the fact that he was calculating and generating publicity for that, I'm glad he was. His questions about him in Cleveland and him in L.A. and all of that other stuff, they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going anywhere. It's in July. So you got this I Promise initiative. Why should he want to talk about Cleveland then? I got no problems with that whatsoever. Your calls to close out the show in a minute with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it. Excuse me. Cole, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., my man, Cole from Georgia.
Go ahead,
brother. Good to hear from you. Good to listen to you.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, I got a quick question. When are we going to get to the point in college sports where we start paying these athletes some kind of stipend or something?
Well,
every year we have to hear about some bunch of players sell something and make some money. When are we going to get to that point?
I think that the players need representation. I think the real problem is that unlike every place else, the players don't have representation. There's no Players Association for collegiate student athletes, and that's the problem. And once you somehow, some way, they need representation. It's just that simple. Got to run. Jeff, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. Jeff.
Hey, Stephen A. Totally agree with you. They need a union in college sports. But my real question is, $20 million Odell Beckham, hypothetical, versus $20 million Khalil Mack. Which one do you sign?
Oh, God. Khalil Mack is big time. There is no doubt about that. But Odell Beckham Jr. is one electrifying talent. He's box office. Khalil Mack is someone who deserves his money because of his production. Odell Beckham Jr. is someone who deserves his money because he'll pay his own way by the money he generates for that franchise and what it does for them. Khalil Mack ain't the box office attraction that Odell Beckham Jr. is. and Odell Beckham Jr. is a superstar. It's just that simple. Adam, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick. You only got 30 seconds.
Hey, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call, man. About Urban, this is exactly who he's always been. He is one of the best coaches of all time, but he also brings myriad issues with him to every major program he's been at. The universities know that. Ohio State's in the business of football. They are not in the business of fielding a competitive football team without knowing who they're getting into bed with when they sign a coach like Urban Meyer. No program's improved when he's left, and he's not going to leave this one either because they're not going to let him out in the open market.
I got you. Like you said it. I mean, he wins football games. 90% of his games he's won at Ohio State, plus 2 national titles. If they can find a way to keep Urban Meyer, they're going to keep him. I don't think it should be at the expense of Gene Smith, though. I can tell you that much. I'm out, but I'll be back in 22 hours. Until then, peace and love, everybody. Stephen A. signing off.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.